In order to create a backup, I need to add a server. So if I want to add a virtual machine, I can click on Virtual Infrastructure, and it'll do an image backup if I add in the host, and then it will find the virtual machines, and I can back up those virtual machines. But if I want to do a physical server, then I'll click on Physical Infrastructure and create a protection group. So I'll click on protection group, and what I want to do is add in a server and then back it up in a more physical manner rather than as an image backup. So it's going to do a brick by brick type of backup. And I have multiple different options here. I can choose individual computers, which is what I'm going to do. Or I can start backing up using the Microsoft Active Directory objects option. So it's going to go into my Active Directory, and it's going to allow me to back up objects inside Active Directory from my domain controller. I could do an upload of a CSV file with all the computers that I would like to add. If I have many computers, I could put those into a CSV file, which is basically just an Excel file that has specific cells filled out, and then I can upload those. I can choose computers with pre-installed backup agents. At this point, I don't have any devices with any agents on it because I've just deployed this particular Veeam program. Then the last option here is cloud machines, and that would allow me to go into Azure or AWS and back up virtual machines that way. I'm going to choose the individual computers option, click Next. Now I'm going to click Add and choose either the name or the IP address of this server I'm going to back up. And I'm going to need to add in some credentials. And I can choose the stored credentials, such as a standard account, Linux, etc., or single use in Linux as well. In my case, I'm going to click on Manage Accounts, and I'm going to click Add, and I'll choose a standard account. Now I want to browse to the username, and it finds my usernames from my Active Directory domain. So I'm going to put in administrator. And click Check Names, and click OK there, and I'll put in my password. And I'll click OK. So now I've added in my account, and I'm selecting my account and clicking OK. And I'll choose Next. Now I have the option of when I want to back this up. But first, I've got to install my backup agent. So you can see the checkbox for backup agent is there, and you can see the name of my distribution server, which is the server that I'm on now, that's running Veeam. And if it needs a reboot, you could tell it to perform that reboot automatically. If it's a production server, I don't recommend that. So I'll click Next, and you can see what's going to be installed and what already exists here. And now it's beginning to push that out. And it was all successful, so I can click Next and Finish. Now it's running a scan of my server to check on that agent. And the job was a success, so I'll click Close, and now I'm going to choose to create job or policy. So I'll click Backup Job. And I've got a lot of options here. I've got virtual machines, Windows Computer, Linux, Mac, Unix, applications, as well as file shares. I'm going to choose the Windows Computer. And you can see it could be a workstation such as a Windows 11 or Windows 10. It could be a server or a failover cluster. Now you have a big decision to make. One is to allow the job to be managed by the server, which is the default and the recommended way to do it. Or you could choose to have it managed by the agent. This is better if you have intermittent connectivity to the server itself, because that way the agent can say, hey, I'm here, I'm available, go ahead and run a backup. But if you do manage by backup server, it's when you are pretty much always connected to that server because it's always turned on. So I'll click Next. Next, and now I'll choose to add my protected computer, and I need to choose the protection group or individual computer. So if I've got multiple computers in my protection group, this is really the way to go because it'll select all of them all at once. If you choose individual computer, then you can just select which one you want. And I'll click OK and Next. Now I can choose the entire computer, volume level backup, or file level backup. You can see that the entire computer option is the default and the recommended way to go. You can also include external USB drives if you'd like. Now, of course, if this is backing up the backup computer and it's using a USB drive, then you may run the risk of backing up the backup. So be careful about that. Now, if you choose the volume level backup, then you're going to see that deleted items, temporary items, things like that are going to be excluded from the image backup to reduce the backup size. So this is a faster way to go, but it's going to exclude some things. And then you have the file level backup. This is more of a traditional type of backup where you're backing up the files and directories only. So I'm going to go with the recommended way, the entire computer, and click Next. And previously, I added in two different types of repositories. One was the default one, which is on the backup server itself. It's 500 gigabytes. And the other repository I added was a file share on a NAS server. So I can either choose one or the other. I'm going to choose the local backup this time, and I can choose the retention policy. Then that backup file can then be overwritten if it needs that space. Now you can override that by choosing to keep certain full backups longer for archival purposes, and you can configure that. You can also choose to configure secondary destinations. And this is really nice because it allows us to create a copy of the job and put it off to another location. This can add a lot of redundancy and also protection against any type of crypto ransomware attack. So what it allows me to do is if I have, say, an external USB drive, then I could run the regular backup using the preferred repository, and then I can run a copy job off to the USB backup, and then I can remove that from the network. So that way, if there is any type of ransomware attack, I still have a good backup. Let's also take a look at the advanced section. And the first option is going to be the synthetic full backup. So what that's going to do is it's going to create that synthetic full backup, which is a combination of the full backup and all of the incremental backups. And that way it always has one up-to-date backup ready to go. So you don't have to have all the different incremental jobs as well as the full backup in order to do a restore. It creates one job out of all those jobs. Under maintenance, this is a good way to keep things clean in your backups, such as performing backup file health checks, removing deleted items, also running a defragment to make sure that you are not having any wasted space and restorations are much quicker. Under storage, you have some compression options and some storage optimizations we'll be covering in an upcoming video. And notifications allow you to set up email notifications so they can send to your email when a job is done or if a job failed. I'm going to click cancel on these. I don't really need to make any of those advanced changes and click next. Under the Enable Application Aware Processing, that is checked already, and it allows me to take on things like transaction logs from SQL Server that will take all of the files that support the application into account when it's running that backup. And that way, when I do a restore, I can have the most up-to-date restore of an application. I can also choose guest file system indexing. So you can see here that it's going to create a catalog of guest files to enable browsing, searching, and one-click restores. That could slow things down a little bit, but the indexing does help if you're going to be doing a lot of individual file restores. Click Next, and now you have the option of scheduling. You can choose to run the job automatically at a certain day and time. You could choose this daily, monthly, or periodically. I'm going to choose to go ahead and run this every day at 6 o'clock because maybe everybody from my office is gone by then. If I hit the drop down, I could choose just weekdays or on specific days. Otherwise, it's going to do every day. Now, if the job fails, you can have it automatically retry as well. And I'm going to click Apply and Finish to get this started. My first backup is going to run at 6 p.m. tonight, and then every night afterwards, then it's going to do an incremental backup. So that first backup will be full, and then all the other ones will be incremental after that. Creating backups with a schedule is one of the first steps to protecting your physical computers in your network.